Hello, I'm Robin Roberts, and I just wanted to share a little bit with you about the ODCTE's new hybrid 5-year accreditation process from my experience. I've been in career tech for 35 years now. I've spent all that time at Indian Capital Technology Center, and I've been through quite a few accreditation processes as a teacher and as an administrator, and also as one of the examiners or one of the team members that's gone in and done the accreditation process. Probably about 20 of them, as I was estimating. And I'm excited about the new process, and I just wanted to share for our staff and those people that are interested some of my take. Indian Capital is scheduled for November of 2019, so this might help some of our staff to know what they're looking out for. So some of the differences in the old system, if you've been here and been through the accreditation process, and how it varies from the new process. They have an examiner team. They have a team of about 15 examiners that come in, and they work together as a team, and they look at your whole system and review it from top to bottom. The old system, you'd have one ODCTE staff member and another teacher from a similar trade as yours come in, and they would look at the number of things out of the accreditation examiner's guidelines for if it's T&I or health or whatever it was. But this one is very, very different in that our system, Indian Capital Technology Center, will have to present or submit an application, and that will be 75 pages long, and it'll talk a lot about who we are and what we're doing, what we stand for, where we're headed, and it'll have some very, very specific things that we'll address in that, and they base that on the new accreditation guidelines, and that's available online at ODCTE's website. You can look under accreditation, and you can see exactly what indicators they're looking for and what things that they're wanting to be considering and examining as they come in and look at your system. But that 15-person team, they look at it from top to bottom, and it is a tremendous process. It's a very helpful process. It's very helpful not only for the Technology Center, but it's very helpful also for the examiner team. I've served, this new process has been in place for 2 years, and I've served 2 years as an examiner. And the 2 technology centers that I went and helped to review, they had some tremendous things that I brought back with me that helped us a lot on this campus. So if you've not considered being an examiner, I want to encourage you to do that. It's a very beneficial process to go through as an examiner, to get to see the A to Z of a technology center and the internal workings, and not just one little segment of it, but the whole entire system. So there's some differences, some significant differences in the old system for you teachers out there, you program instructors. No more 3-ring binder. And the hooray will go up whenever a lot of teachers hear that's been through the process before, because it takes a lot to prepare that 3-ring binder. So to not have to prepare that 3-ring binder is a blessing. No question about it. But what that examiner team will do is they'll come and they'll visit with you, they'll visit with your students, they'll interview students and ask them specific questions, and they'll get a much, much more thorough look and feel of what's actually going on in a classroom. In the old system, we prepared that 3-ring binder, and the 2-person team came in and they went through item by item in that 3-ring binder, and it was not that difficult to put on a dog and pony show and to have everything in line for that team to come in, and then when they left, you put the book back on the shelf and went back to business as usual. It's not nearly as easy to do that with this new system, because the team is people that's from other technology centers, and they know how things work, and they know what questions to ask your students to find out. Are you actually covering safety? Are you actually enforcing the safety in the program? Are you actually planning the lessons and students following through the course objectives and the syllabus? It's a much, much more comprehensive process for sure. So I think that the process is much more results focused than the process that we had before. The results focus is more, I think, on what type of data are you producing? What's your measurements of success in your tech center or in your program? What are your success measures, and can you show trends over time of how you're improving on those success measures? So I know here at ICTC we have our levels of excellence, and it gets into enrollment, gets into retention, gets into job placement. Here on the Tahlequah campus of Indian Capital Technology Center, we've looked a lot at attendance because that's the #1 factor for our students failing, so we have a lot of good data on attendance. We've started compiling some data on our competency exam pass rate for each program, so that's some of the things that the examiner team is going to want to look at and see for real, what are you doing over time, and are you taking the data and are you using that data to make improvements, and can you see those improvements, and what have you done, what's been the processes for those. So that examiner team will go from one campus to the other, so they'll get to see ICTC and how consistent are we as a district. Are we being consistent in our enrollment procedures from one side to the other? Are we being consistent in our financial aid processes and our appeals processes? So they'll be able to see how are we doing as a system, and are we consistent. So I think that the new process is much more collaborative for sure, in that you have that 15-person examiner team that gets together and they're looking at our system from top to bottom, and they're collaborating and they're talking about as they go, what are you seeing and what am I seeing and how am I interpreting that, and if there are questions, they'll go right back out and ask the right people the right questions to clarify what's going on. For example, do we have good communication from top down and from bottom up? Do we have that good communication, and are people heard in our system? And if they're interviewing our superintendent and our superintendent says something, they'll ask that same question to a teacher and then to a student, and so they'll get that continuity or that collaboration from top to bottom. So it's much more comprehensive also, in that that top to bottom look by that examiner team, and that from the end user to the leadership is the cohesiveness there, and is a comprehensive process in that regard. So I think that it develops a great picture in that examiner team, and they can take that picture that they get of who we are and compare it to the standard, which is the accreditation guidelines, and from that they can get an idea of what are our strengths and what are our opportunities for improvement, or OFIs is what the ODCTE refers to it as. So Dawn Lindsley is the one that is over that at ODCTE, and Dawn does a tremendous job. She makes sure that there's a good team effort, that they're fair, that they're very thorough, and she keeps that process rolling. She's right there on site through the whole accreditation process while they're on our campus, and they'll spend a day on each one of our campuses. They may spend 2 or 3 days on the Muskogee campus since it's so much bigger. And Dawn goes with them when they go to each one of those sites, and she's just a tremendous asset for sure to the whole process. When that examiner team gets back together and has their end of the day dialogue and discussion, she's there guiding and directing that, but she's getting full input and feedback from that team, and they'll pinpoint things and they'll go back and ask questions to certain instructors or to certain students. They also have our end customers in mind, those industries that's hiring our students, and the people in the community, our partner schools and the chambers of commerce. They'll have that group come in, and they'll visit with them over a lunch and dialogue with them. The examiners will sit down at a table, one examiner with a partner school person, maybe a chamber of commerce person, and an industry that's hiring our students, and they'll just have dialogue and ask them very specific questions. So like I said, it's a very comprehensive process, but no 3-ring binder, but how they're getting a picture of what's going on in your program is by coming in and watching and asking questions of you, the instructor, and asking questions of your students, asking questions. They'll talk to everybody on our campus. Those examiner teams will talk to everybody from the person that's responsible for our professional cleaning, to our maintenance staff that's taking care of things, to our frontline staff, administration. They'll sit down and have lunch with our staff here. So it's a very, very comprehensive process. So I'm very excited about it. I've spent 2 years as an examiner. Like I said, I'm sold on it. I think it's a much improved system over what we had before, because I'm one of those guys that I am interested in continuing to improve, and this process does a tremendous job, I think, of helping you continue to improve. So I'm sold on it, and I know we're just starting down that path. I think it'll be a great path for us, and it's not something that you can get prepared for by putting everything in a book. It's something that I need to know way in advance as far as what types of things are they going to be looking for, and it makes you start examining things way early on. And as you examine things, you start making improvements automatically before they ever come, because you know they're looking at processes, and you're thinking, what process do I use for this? So it'll make you make improvements just getting ready for it. And then the whole accreditation visit, they'll come out with some great suggestions also. And then they follow up afterwards and ask, how did you do on our suggestions? What have you done to continue the ball rolling on the improvement process? So that's one of the reasons I love it, is because it's a great, great school improvement tool. And that's what we're all about. And I know Indian Capital is headed in that direction. So I'm sure excited about it. And we're starting down that path. So if I can be of any help, I'm sure here to do that. Thank you.